Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and it was brought to my attention today that Bill Cosby has been there's been an arrest warrant issued on Cosby. He's been arraigned. He's in custody right now, and that's pretty huge. That's pretty surprising because a lot of people thought Cosby would never be held accountable for the things he'd been accused of doing. Um, it leaves me with mixed feelings because I've never really liked Cosby that much, but I've never really disliked him that much either. There were some things about him I actually admired in terms of the fact that he gave so much money to HBCUs, which a lot of celebrities won't do. The fact that he deliberately chose to make a different world all about black colleges, which most celebrities would not do. The fact that he worked overtime to use the Fat Albert show as a way to educate urban kids. That was one of the objectives of the show. Most celebrities don't do that. The fact that he went out of his way to create positive black images when he did the Cosby Show. Most celebrities don't do that today. They could care less about black people. That's kind of what black people have concluded. Most blacks matter that much. We're just trained to think that black people should always be at the back of the bus. Remember, white supremacy is a two-way street, and we volunteer for white supremacy as much as white people do. Now, on the other hand, obviously, there is the fact that Cosby, in his public life, became off a little arrogant and self-righteous. And I think that when you're that self-righteous, you certainly make yourself into a target. And I think that it was shocking to me that a man who was that self-righteous, who was that committed to telling people what's wrong with how they're living their lives, would be doing this kind of thing behind closed doors. This kind of mental illness that he had that led to a lot of people being victimized. I do believe the accusers. In bulk, I do believe that Cosby did a lot of things that he shouldn't have been doing. In fact, a lot of people would say just sleeping with that many women when you're supposed to be married, that right there is kind of strange. Or sleeping with women who are young enough to be your granddaughter when you're supposed to have a wife at home, some would say that's strange. But honestly, for a lot of men, the bar is set pretty low. I mean, you have situations where men do that all the time and no one says a word, and it's their right to have their lay out their marriage how they want. But then when you cross over into that line of sexual assault, obviously that's a problem. And I do believe that Cosby is a rapist. I believe it. I just don't think that you're going to have that many accusations without there being some truth to it. I don't think it's just a big conspiracy because he was going to go buy NBC and all that. People say that stuff, and here's the thing: the conspiracy might be in the fact that it was revealed that he did those things. That's to me, if there's a conspiracy, that's the conspiracy, that his bad choices were revealed. But there's no conspiracy in the fact that he made those choices to begin with. There's not. The only conspiracy at that point is the one that Cosby committed against himself with the decisions that he made. And so again, without going into too much further detail with that, I would say that we have to accept the fact that Cosby's probably a rapist. Now, the other issue that does come into play, though, is that you can get into a comparative analysis and kind of ask yourself about a few things. Number one, would we have taken these allegations as seriously if this had, say, been a group of black women accusing Cosby of sexual assault? I think the answer is no. I think that if these women had been majority black, I think it would have been ignored and swept under the rug. Most criminal justice studies show that you are far more likely to be convicted of a crime or to be indicted of a crime or arrested for the crime when you have a white victim. When your victim is black, especially a black male, you're far more likely to get away with what you did, and that's proven study after study. So the fact that these were white women feeds very much into the idea of the black man as some scary sexual predator that really hasn't gone away, and a lot of black men even fall into this whole King Kong sexual whatever kind of myth about us that they just like that some people like to embrace, and so I think race plays a part in that, but also, the fact that the statute of limitations has ended in many of these cases. I think that even though it's unfortunate that some women may have felt uncomfortable coming out with, on this years ago, the fact is that the law is the law, and if you're going to apply the law when it comes to white men, then you should apply the law when it comes to black men as well. And I think that's kind of an issue, in addition to this. I mean, I'm looking at all these other situations. I mean, the X-Men director, Singer, I think his last name's Singer, he had some nasty allegations against him that had to do with running gay pedophile parties. Where they had the little child actor sued him saying that they had naked little boys running around. They were grown ass men having sex with these little kids. And nobody really has that same degree of diligence when it comes to chasing down white people who do these horrible things as they do when it comes to chasing down Bill Cosby and R. Kelly, or going back further, O.J. Simpson. Remember, white folks, they were not going to rest until O.J. went to prison for killing that white woman. They were not going to rest. So when white people have convicted you with this mob mentality, you're done. They're going to find you. They're going to fry your ass, because at the end of the day, they run the justice system. They want you. If they want you done, you will be done. And so effectively, Bill Cosby is, he's now a victim of mob justice for the most part. If you go deeper into this, you can't look at all these alleged victims and say that they're all the same. Every situation is not the same. I know they take the little pictures looking all polite with their legs closed and all this stuff. No, 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 no. There's a difference between the woman who was assaulted, who never spoke to Cosby again, and the woman who claimed she was assaulted numerous times while Cosby was paying her college tuition, and she kept going to visit him and was calling him on the phone, and then got mad because he stopped calling her back. There's a difference in those cases, and I don't care about these crazy terms, slut shaming and all. You're slut shaming because you brought up what happened with the victim. No, no. You need to get all the facts. Rape is a serious accusation, so you need all the information. You need to stop living in a world where you assume that every person that accuses someone of a crime must be innocent. In some cases, I've seen cases where the alleged victim was actually the perpetrator. I'm talking about if you falsely accuse somebody of rape, you are then the perpetrator. You are destroying a person's life. So we, as allegedly a just society, which we're not, we're a country that's claiming to try to be just, but we ain't really serious about that. We owe it to both parties to get all the information. So I think that every case in this Cosby situation should be seen on an individual basis. I don't believe that every single woman in this group went through a similar experience. I think some of them are signing on to get money. And I do think that it should be seen that way. I don't think that this simple-minded analysis is really going to make a lot of sense, and I don't care. I mean, I imagine some people probably going to get mad, because what happens is we live on these dumb idiot political extremes. Either you think Cosby is a superhero and he can never do any wrong, and they're just a bunch of skanks, or you are on the other end where you think that Cosby is a predator and all these women were sweet innocent little victims who Cosby just victimized one by one over the years, and that they just had no idea this was happening, and they were just they were completely innocent. No. I'm sorry. There's some women in there that are trying to get paid. That's a fact. We know this now. But so the thing is that I think it's very easy to paint an image of a black man as a perpetrator. I think it's very easy for people to redefine Cosby from America's favorite father to America's least favorite sexual predator. I think it's easy to do that because he's still a black man. As Paul Mooney used to talk about, he got his nigga wake up call. And that's the funny thing. You have these Negroes in Hollywood that think white people love them, and then watch you end up getting done like O.J. Simpson or like Bill Cosby or like Tiger Woods, and then suddenly all those white folks who thought you were great are suddenly treating you like everybody else. They're treating you like all the other black men on the street. Now, the last point I'll make on this, which is really interesting, I saw somebody bring this point up, and I think it's worth addressing. It is very interesting to see that it was very easy for them, or they were so willing to go and issue an arrest warrant on Cosby and to arraign him. And I think his bail set at $1 million. But they couldn't even get an indictment on the officer who shot Tamir Rice. They couldn't get indictments in many other cases where police officers have murdered black men. I would say that if they were shooting down white women in the same way, you would not just have indictments, you would have convictions. I think that from what I've seen in criminal justice studies, and I'm gonna ask my good friend Dr. Chanel Jones about this to confirm this, but the victim of the crime is typically the thing that determines whether the crime is going to lead to an arrest, an indictment, and a prosecution. So, if Cosby hadn't been raping women who were mostly white, chances are this would have been swept under the rug. And the fact that Cosby happens to also be black just really adds fuel to that fire. So that's how I see it. I think Cosby, his legacy is already ruined. In my mind, I'll never I would see him as I won't see him much differently from what I saw before. Adding of course the sexual assault thing, but I see Cosby as a guy who was either a good person who did some really bad things or a bad person who did some really good things. And I think that for those of us in the black community who want to be fair to Cosby and to the victims, you have to see it for what it is. You can't see it as 100% right or 100% wrong, because here you have a situation where a man probably did some stuff that was pretty horrible, and he should pay a price for that, just like everybody else, just like all those black men he was dissing and dismissing years ago and saying, well, you wouldn't go to jail if you didn't steal the pound cake and all that stuff. Well, I mean, now, unfortunately, it's Cosby's turn to pay the piper, and now his personal responsibility speeches come into play in his own life. And I just think I think it's a sad way for an old man to go out, but it looks like that's what's going to happen, and I don't know what to say about it. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So feel free to leave a comment and tell me if you agree or disagree, or you like me or don't like me. It's okay either way. I believe in freedom of speech and transparency. So just say what you want to say, and it's all good. All right, guys. Well, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I am gone. Peace.